For 3 decades, the iconic world of the bold and the beautiful has been driven by shocking truths, broken vows, and secrets buried deeper than any Forrester vault. But nothing comes close to the bombshell that is about to erupt when Ridge Forrester learns the truth about a 33-year-old DNA cover-up. A secret that reveals Brooke Logan's most devastating lie. Hope is not the daughter of Deacon Sharp. Hope is Ridge's biological daughter. It all begins innocently enough with Ridge rummaging through Eric's office files, searching for old Forrester archives to preserve in the company's legacy collection. But when his eyes land on a faded envelope marked with his name, one he has never seen before, his heart pulses with confusion. Inside, he finds a long-buried paternity test, dated decades earlier, the very year little Hope Logan was born. Ridge's breath catches when he sees the results. He, Ridge Forrester, is listed as the biological father. Shock swirls into anger as he examines the official lab stamp, the legal physician signatures, and a handwritten note that unmistakably belongs to Brooke. This changes everything. Please destroy after reading. Much younger then, Ridge had no clue this test even existed. And suddenly his mind flashes back to those years when Brooke bounced between heartbreaks, when she mourned the loss of her relationship with him while finding questionable comfort in Deacon. The world believed that story, that Brooke had betrayed him with Deacon and Hope was conceived from that forbidden affair. But now Ridge sees that the story was twisted, that Brooke had manipulated everyone, including herself, into accepting a lie that robbed him of fatherhood. The office walls close in tighter as rage fuels every memory. Hope's childhood birthdays, he wasn't fully part of. The times he stepped back believing she wasn't his, the countless moments he allowed maternal judgment and Logan Forrester tension to keep them distant. Ridge feels decades of stolen love collapsing like glass inside his chest. And through the glass shard stands Brooke, the woman he has loved, lost, forgiven, and fought for more times than anyone on this earth. If this DNA report is true, she didn't just betray their relationship, she stole his daughter from him. Meanwhile, Brooke is at home arranging holiday photos when she receives a phone notification. Ridge wants to see her at the office immediately. She senses a tension in his message, but nothing could prepare her for the storm waiting to strike. When she arrives, Ridge is pacing the room, holding that now infamous envelope. Brooke's face instantly drains of color. She recognizes it. She had prayed it was gone forever. "Where did you get that?" she whispers, voice barely there. Ridge doesn't respond. Instead, he slams the report onto the desk for her to see. Rage flashes in his eyes as he demands answers, real answers, not one more Logan-style excuse. Brooke tries to speak, but the words choke, her throat tight with fear and regret. She remembers vividly the night the test was done. The timeline back then was chaotic. Ridge was her soulmate, but he was emotionally shattered, and Deacon had taken advantage of her vulnerability. Still, at the time of conception, there had been overlap, and medical suspicion led her to take that DNA test before Hope was even born. When she received the result confirming Ridge as the father, she had been relieved, but then came the crushing truth. Ridge was planning a future with Taylor, and after their countless romantic disasters, Brooke feared that if Ridge knew Hope was his child, he would return to her out of obligation, not love. So she convinced herself the best thing, the only thing, was to accept the narrative that Hope was Deacon's. She destroyed every copy of the report she could find, but Eric, wise and wary, kept one sealed away just in case one day the truth needed to surface. Now that day has come, and Brooke's long-buried hope for forgiveness has vanished. Ridge's voice breaks as he accuses her of stealing 33 years of fatherhood from him and from Hope, forging a false identity that shaped every one of her life choices. He recalls pushing Hope away at times, refusing to interfere in Logan dramas because he wasn't her real dad, and every one of those choices now cuts deeper than any betrayal he has ever endured. Brooke cries, pleading that she only wanted to protect him, protect everyone, that the world was already shattered enough back then, and one more scandal would have destroyed families beyond repair. But Ridge shakes his head. Her one act of protection created decades of damage, fracturing Hope's sense of belonging and stripping Ridge of the chance to be a father from day one. Hope Logan. Completely unaware of the war detonating behind closed doors, visits Steffi at the Cliff House to discuss co-parenting boundaries and ongoing tensions between the Forrester and Logan clans. She speaks about the struggle of not truly feeling like she belonged in the Forrester world, and how Ridge had always seemed to hold her at arm's length. Little does she know that this distance wasn't coldness, but confusion created by lies. As Hope smiles over memories with Douglas and Beth, Steffi notices an eerie shift in the wind, a change that feels like destiny rearranging itself. Back at Forrester Creations, Ridge demands to know how many others Brooke involved in this deception. Did Eric know? Did Taylor suspect? Did Deacon help cover this up? Brooke admits only Eric ever knew the truth, and he begrudgingly agreed to keep the test locked away because she insisted the emotional risks were too high. Ridge's fury intensifies. Everyone he trusted betrayed him. And then comes the most painful question. If Hope is his daughter, what does that mean for Steffi, Thomas, and his entire family dynamic? Everything shifts. Inheritance, legacy, love, all rewritten by a secret silently shaping their lives from the shadows. Brooke begs for understanding, explaining that every day she regretted her silence, but she feared speaking up would ignite another toxic custody battle, another collapse between Logan and Forrester families, the very war Ridge always fought to prevent. You didn't prevent war, Ridge fires back. You created one that just waited 33 years to explode. Ridge storms out, leaving Brooke shattered on the office floor, clutching the report that has now destroyed the last piece of trust between them. His next destination, Hope. He finds her at the Cliff House, a place he always felt was more Taylor's territory than his, and Steffi steps aside when she sees the staggering grief and fire burning in his eyes. Ridge asks to speak to Hope privately, and she senses danger, not physical, but emotional devastation. When the words spill out, they come like thunder shaking the earth. Hope. I'm your father. Hope freezes, breath breaking in confusion. She almost laughs at first, convinced this is some cruel misunderstanding. Ridge hands her the document, and as her eyes scan the test result, her entire world fractures. The man she spent her whole life wanting deeper approval from, the man who sometimes seemed unreachable, he was her father all along. Tears stream uncontrollably as she demands explanations, and Ridge cannot bring himself to repeat Brooke's justification. Hope's heart turns heavy with betrayal. Her entire identity has been built on a lie. The father she was told to hate, Deacon, was always used as a cautionary tale of Brooke's worst choices, when in truth he was nothing more than a scapegoat for Brooke's deepest fear. Hope collapses emotionally, grieving for the childhood she never had, the family dinners with Ridge, the moments of encouragement when she doubted herself, the father-daughter bond she spent years yearning for. And now the embrace she always wished for feels poisoned by Brooke's manipulation. Meanwhile, Steffi, listening from a distance, feels her world shaking as well. If Hope is Ridge's biological daughter, that makes her Hope's sister, an unimaginable twist that changes every rivalry, every love triangle, every battle they ever fought. And suddenly, her claim as the true Forrester princess is no longer absolute. Thomas returns to the house just in time to hear the seismic reveal and stands in stunned silence. Hope is not just the woman he loved, not just the mother of his son. She is his sister too. The implications tear through his mind. Douglas's parents were entangled in ways darker than lovers' betrayal. They were family. The horror and moral shock weigh heavily on him, and guilt floods his chest as he thinks of every kiss, every confession, every moment he crossed the line. He runs outside, gasping for air as dizziness overwhelms him. Hope sees Thomas crumble and the agony multiplies, because now she must confront the darkness left by a truth denied. Ridge watches the chaos unfold, and every breaking heart becomes further proof that Brooke's secret was not protection, it was destruction. News spreads like wildfire to Eric, Taylor, Deacon, and the entire Forrester Logan landscape. Eric, still recovering from health battles and emotional strain, feels the weight of his role in hiding the document. Taylor is furious that Brooke once again controlled Ridge's destiny with deception. Deacon, devastated, realizes the bond he believed he had with Hope was constructed from a lie, making his years of shame and alienation deeply unfair. With the truth bubbling and burning through every family tie, Ridge makes a vow. He will no longer allow Brooke to determine the narrative. He declares a public announcement must be made to correct Hope's legal status, updating her identity as a Forrester, because if he has been robbed of 33 years, he will reclaim the next 33 with every ounce of love he has left. Brooke tries desperately to reach Hope, but Hope refuses to listen. The betrayal is too deep, the wound still bleeding fresh. She leaves Brooke's house in tears, choosing instead to stay temporarily with Ridge to try to build the connection she was cheated out of. Ridge promises he will take accountability for every moment he missed, and the one silver lining glimmers. They have the chance to start anew as father and daughter, even if late. But the road to healing is long. Steffi now questions her role in the company. Thomas isolates himself in crushing shame. Deacon spirals, feeling he has lost the only pure love he ever earned, and Brooke remains alone, the architect of her own heartbreak, watching every piece of her family collapse because of a lie she convinced herself was love. The bombshell has only begun to rip through Los Angeles. Court documents will be filed, last names will change, inheritances will be rewritten, and loyalty lines will shift forever. Ridge stands determined, protective, and more emotionally present than he has ever been, with a new battle cry fueling his heart. Hope is a Forrester, his daughter, and he will never let anyone steal that from him again. Yet even as the truth promises healing, Brooke's final fear looms in the shadows, a fear she tried to outrun for decades. Once Ridge sees the full damage of her deception, he may never forgive her. And now, with the truth out in the open, the ultimate question remains. Can Ridge and Hope build their new bond without burning the entire Forrester Logan world to ash? Or is this the beginning of the most explosive family war in bold and beautiful history? The shockwaves of the revelation continue to roar through Los Angeles as families brace themselves for emotional aftershocks that could last a lifetime. And while Ridge tries to center himself in the newfound truth, he cannot ignore the fiery chaos that continues to build around him because every person affected by Brooke's secret is spinning out differently, each unraveling in their own unique heartbreak. Hope lies awake in Ridge's guest room that first night, tears soaking her pillow as she stares into darkness, reflecting on every moment in her life where she felt like she didn't quite belong. Every time she was compared to Steffi, every time Ridge treated her as just Brooke's daughter instead of part of his family, every time she questioned whether she deserved a seat at the Forrester table, and now she knows why. Someone stole what was rightfully hers: fatherhood, identity, love without boundaries. But along with grief grows a strange spark, a sense of reclamation, because for the first time, Hope truly knows who she is. Downstairs, Ridge replays her tears in his mind, realizing that despite all the pain, Hope wants this bond, she wants him, and the hope he had lost for years is now reborn through her eyes. Yet, before they can move forward, Ridge must face the ghosts of the past, including Taylor. He arrives at her house early in the morning, exhausted and broken, and when she opens the door, she sees instantly that something catastrophic has happened. He tells her the truth, voice cracking as he confesses that Brooke not only destroyed their years of trust, but also rewrote his entire sense of family. Taylor listens quietly, her heart aching not only for Ridge, but for her own children, who now must accept that they share their father's love and legacy with the one woman they have long battled. Taylor has always fought Brooke's lies and manipulation, but she never imagined Brooke would go this far, stealing Ridge's daughter to secure her grip on him emotionally. Ridge apologizes to Taylor for the unspoken betrayal. How every time he left her for Brooke, he was unknowingly leaving his daughter too, and Taylor, compassionate despite her shock, embraces him, knowing he needs understanding, not judgment. Meanwhile, Brooke arrives at Hope's cabin, desperate to explain herself, terrified that she has lost her daughter forever. She knocks repeatedly, calling Hope's name, but no one answers. She breaks down on the porch, sobbing as she collapses onto the swing, clutching her phone and replaying voicemail messages she wishes she could take back. Nearby, Deacon watches from a distance, feeling a complicated ache. Part of him still loves Brooke, and yet another part burns with rage because she robbed him of something sacred too. Fatherhood, no matter how flawed, no matter the mistakes, it was still the one thing that gave his life meaning. Deacon approaches Brooke with bitter disappointment in his eyes, and Brooke tries to apologize to him too. insisting she never meant to hurt him. But Deacon snaps, telling her that she has always made choices based on fear and selfishness, and that she didn't just destroy Ridge's life, she destroyed his and Hope's too. He leaves Brooke shattered, whispering to herself that maybe she truly doesn't deserve forgiveness this time. At the Cliff house, Steffi paces back and forth as Thomas sits silent in the corner, hands clasped over his mouth, staring at the ground with unfocused eyes. Steffi reminds him that they didn't know, that nothing about the love he once felt for Hope was intentional wrongdoing, but he can't stop replaying every moment of intimacy, now poisoned by a truth that makes him sick to his stomach. He fears Hope will never forgive him, not just because of past manipulation, but because now he represents a violation neither of them can ever erase from their memories. Steffi tries to remain strong for her brother, but she too is rattled to the core. This changes the hierarchy of the Forrester family, shifts the balance of power at Forrester Creations, challenges everything she believed about her position as Ridge's eldest daughter. She has fought Hope for years, for Liam, for Douglas, for business, for the title of true Forrester blood. And now all those victories feel stolen, meaningless. But one thing Steffi knows about herself is that she won't back down, not now, not ever. She says that if Hope thinks she can suddenly sweep in and replace her as Ridge's right-hand child, she has another thing coming. This isn't just a revelation, it's a challenge. Outside, Thomas rushes away, unable to breathe within those walls any longer, and Steffi calls Finn, begging him to help keep the family emotionally stable before someone breaks beyond repair. Eric, upon hearing the full details, is consumed by regret. He thought he was preventing one disaster, but instead he planted the seed for a far greater catastrophe. His health has barely recovered, and stress threatens to pull him back into dangerous territory, but he insists on calling a meeting at the mansion to address the future of the family. He summons Ridge, Hope, Steffi, Thomas, and Brooke, a room destined to ignite. When they gather that evening, tension radiates like lightning ready to strike. Brooke sits alone, devastated and shaking, while Hope stands beside Ridge, not out of loyalty, but out of sheer emotional necessity. Steffi and Thomas enter together, united in family but divided in fear. Eric clears his throat with trembling hands and declares that although this truth is painful, the Forrester family must move forward with dignity and unity. He announces that Ridge will be amending Hope's legal standing immediately. She will be recognized publicly as Ridge's biological daughter and a legitimate Forrester heir. Steffi's jaw tightens. The shift in inheritance and legacy becomes real. Ridge then takes the floor, voice firm but heavy, telling everyone that his priority now is Hope's emotional recovery and establishing the relationship they were deprived of. Thomas speaks next, apologizing to Hope through tears, explaining he would have never pursued her romantically if he knew this truth. Hope, hurt but empathetic, acknowledges he didn't know, but she informs him she needs space, a clean emotional separation for the sake of Douglas and her own mind. Thomas nods, accepting the heartbreak like a punishment he knows he deserves. And then comes the inevitable moment. All eyes turn to Brooke. She tries to stand, voice breaking as she apologizes to everyone, to Ridge for taking fatherhood away, to Hope for robbing her of identity, to Thomas and Steffi for altering their family foundation, to Deacon for tearing away the illusion of paternity he cherished. But no one offers her comfort. Not yet. They all walk out one by one, leaving Brooke alone in the Forrester living room, a haunting visual of the queen dethroned by her own actions. Hours later, Ridge sits beside Hope on the terrace, gazing out at the night sky, telling her he wishes he could give her back every year he missed. Hope leans into him, finally allowing herself the warmth she longed for. And though the moment is fragile, it is the first step toward healing. However, peace will not come easily. The press will soon discover the secret. Deacon may fight for the relationship he believes he deserves. Steffi is already preparing to defend her position as the one who should lead the Forrester future, and Brooke, isolated, heartbroken, and guilt-ridden, may spiral into self-destruction unlike anything the family has seen before. Ridge knows this truth, may have saved one bond, but destroyed dozens more. And as he holds Hope close, a new question hangs heavy in the air. Is this revelation the beginning of a stronger family, or the spark that will burn the Forresters and Logans to the ground once and for all?